Good morning, Lafayette. It is great to, be with you again here this morning. Yesterday, the grandson had a doctor's appointment, and we were not able to really get in there on that and talk about it yesterday because it was in the morning. By the time I got home, I wasn't able to get on the air. So that's how that kind of worked out yesterday. But today, here we are. We're back. I had an MRI this morning and was able to rush back home and still get everything kind of set up. So I am with you for the next 3 hours, and that's pretty exciting for just about everybody, right? Well, at least me at this point is the way it's gonna be. It's one of those kind of cold, chilly winter mornings that we all kind of like and dislike, depending on if it's snowing or not snowing. It's a new day in our Hoosier heartland, and it brings the same old winter kind of bite. But it also reminds us of the warmth we create together, doesn't it? Here in Greater Lafayette, from the Purdue campus to our neighborhoods, life keeps moving through cold snaps, community wins, and the everyday stories that bind us all together. We face challenges like safety concerns and icy roads, but we also celebrate progress in education, local events, and the resilience that defines us all. Today, we're diving deep into what's happening right here at home, then zooming out to the national and the world views, because in tough seasons, information and connection are our best defenses. Let's talk, Lafayette. Let's share and stay strong because Lafayette always shows up for Lafayette. That is for sure. There are so many different things going on this morning, folks. You've got world events that have been happening, potential for war out there, a great basketball game last night, and a weather that is a changing. And this is the place that you will find the most extensive, the best weather forecast, and probably the longest look at it that you will find anywhere on the internet. Is I'm going to be probably 20 minutes to a half an hour, and we will start basically with today. And we will work our way all the way through about a week out to around 14 days of the forecast. And I'll do that two or three times during the show. I'll do it right here at the beginning, usually, generally near the end somewhere, and in the middle wherever it pops up, that kind of thing at 10 o'clock, 10:15, something like that on those lines. I am your host, Brian Burden, and yes, I am a meteorologist, hence the reason that I like to do things where I get to see and do weather as much as I possibly can. It's just one of those kind of things that you like to do when you're out and about. As a weather person, I've been all over the planet. So that's why I say out and about. And I always get to, I still do the same things I used to do when I first became a weatherman, which was immediately walk outside and look up to see what the clouds are. What kind of clouds are there? How much are there? And to me, immediately that tells me how it's going to affect me, even if I haven't looked at weather in any way, shape, or form, say for the last day or 2 days. Weatherman, we never kind of get away from it. It seems like I can go a day or two, maybe three, four, occasionally, where I don't pay a whole bunch of attention to the actual weather and the weather forecast. But after that, I got to get back into the mix, just kind of see what's going on. Just because, for one, everybody asks me about it all the time, it seems like. So that's where we are, at least on that front. Let's dive into some of this stuff right away here. Let's go right into the weather forecast and get into it. It's a cold, blustery day. It's 18 degrees outside right now, mostly cloudy. I did see a few little spots where you could see some sunshine here or there, but generally speaking, everybody's got cloud cover, and it'll be kind of that way most of the day. Although we'll see some in and out streaks. Remember, the flow is coming off of Lake Michigan from the due north, pulling moisture down, but it will pull it in streaks. And what I mean by streaks is you will see that the clouds that come off the lake aren't always precise. They'll be in a streak of maybe 5 or 10 miles wide, and then the spot 5 or 10 miles to the right or left is more open, and you see a couple spots of sun. And then 10 miles down the road, you get another batch of snowfall. But we're now getting away from the system that came through yesterday. So we saw some light flurries and some light snow in the area. Nothing happened majorly for that and the snowfall yesterday. Good news is most of the roads I think were plenty drivable and no problems in the Tippecanoe area, Tippecanoe County. But if you went over towards Logansport, Kokomo, back up towards South Bend, you started running into actual snowfall amounts on the ground. that were a bit heavier than obviously our dusting that we got here for most people in the local Lafayette area. So right now, winds are out of the northwest at 11 miles an hour. 18 degrees. That means your wind chill's hovering somewhere right around, oh, let's call it 10. Right, 10 at the moment, 5 to 10, definitely. Maybe an isolated spot where it's down around zero right now, depending on your wind speeds in your locale. But most of the area is hovering around 10 miles an hour. So say you're at 15, you're probably looking at right around zero for your wind chill. So call it 0 to 10 for just about everybody, and a chilly day on tap. It'll warm up a little bit tomorrow, and then we get back into the cold. I've noticed in the forecasts, if on Monday and Tuesday we were looking at Sunday morning for being the coldest, it's now starting to shift it to Monday. So it's slowed the time frame down just a little bit. Here we are on Thursday, and we'll dive into that in just a little bit. But you can see this is the MSN basically weather bug. You type in Lafayette, Indiana, and this is what you get. And the only reason I like this is it is rather concise. You can see some of the numbers pretty easy. I don't have to build a chart for you for it, right? 18 degrees. This is what the models are saying. 26 for the high. 38 tomorrow, 22, 19. Notice Monday, 9 with a low of 1. If we are open skies like this Monday morning, we'll be below zero, would be my guess. We'll have to take a look at the charts, and we'll get into the locale and see what's happening for us locally and what's going to happen with that. But there is some snow on the horizon for tonight and tomorrow, it looks like, and kind of in and out for Saturday. That's what it looked like on Tuesday. Let's take a look at some of that information right now. Let's just get right into the satellite picture. Here's the big satellite picture of the Midwest, basically, we'll call it. And right here, Lake Michigan, right here, you can see the clouds streaming off of Lake Michigan. Lafayette is right in this spot. And what I see is a big cloud band moving to our south right now, and an open spot right here to the north, which means some sunshine possibly popping out here in the next hour or so if it hasn't already gotten to you. Maybe you're north of Lafayette and you're seeing some of that sunshine already. And the snow band is coming off of the lake right where it has been. LaPorte, South Bend, right in here, they've been getting plenty of snowfall up to the north in the last couple of days from the system that moved through yesterday. Rather abruptly, just as we expected on Monday and Tuesday when we talked about it, that it would come through Wednesday, probably around 10 o'clock or so. And sure enough, 10 to noon, just about everything changed and switched. Temperatures dropped dramatically. Flurries started, snow showers here or there, lots of cloud cover, and a strong gusty wind from the north. As those winds come across Lake Michigan, it's going to continue to create cloud cover off and on in our area. Although it looks like, I think, with a slight shifting pattern more to the probably to our east, we may get into that open gap pretty good here sunwise today as we go on, but it's still expected to come and go at times. And you can also start to see the next system starting to dive in from the northwest of us up into the northern portions of Wisconsin and Minnesota. A little bit of moisture band with this system down to the south too. That's moving through Nebraska into western Iowa, and then that's pushing towards Missouri as it swings around a high pressure system out to the southwest there. So the main low went through and by us yesterday, and you can kind of see it right here. This will be diving in behind the low pressure system off to our east as it exits off towards the east during the day today. Let's take a look at the charts. Well, actually, here's your quick shot of the radar. Remember, I told you that a lot of the snow was setting up to the west. Not much showing up in LaPorte, South Bend, a little bit off of Gary there. A batch, though, was able to come all the way down towards South Bend. And I'm sure some of this is being exaggerated a bit by the radar as it's gotten closer to Indianapolis. But I'm sure some of the folks, Delphi, Logansport, Kokomo, Grissom, Winnemac off to the north, they saw some of this light snow move through overnight, and they probably had a bit of a dusting themselves while the folks near the lake still had plenty of snowfall. And we're just picking up a few of the clouds here and there on the radars right now. Although this looks a little thick enough right there down towards Crawfordsville, where you might see some light snow with that as a possibility, and a pretty big gap before you get some more clouds coming off the lake that are showing up on our not satellites, but on the radars. There you go. Here's what it looks like model wise. I've got you a big picture first is what we're going to look at, and what we're going to look back and go back to where we are right now. So here it is, 14Z, which is 9 o'clock in the morning. And this is what the model says. You notice there's a band coming off the lake. high pressure down towards our southwest. Right now, centered, if you use the circle, enclosed circle there of the ISO bars at 1022. Anywhere in this general area is where the high pressure system is. The winds coming around it from in through Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa are flowing in here pretty warm. We are on the opposite direction where the winds are coming out of the north. So the high spins in a clockwise motion. Kind of spin the little hand around here so you can see what that means. So when we're over here, we're on the cold side. When we're over here, we're on the warm side, right? So that's kind of how it works. That's just generalities right there. And then we start to pinpoint everything after that. So sure enough, it's cold, it's chilly here. We've got an influx of snow coming off of the lake at times, and we do expect a system to move in tonight. It's not even really starting to show up to our north because it is a fast-moving Alberta clipper system. We like to call them clipper systems. If you remember the story, clippers were a fast moving ship back in the 1800s, basically, I believe it was the time frame, maybe even the 1700s. And these systems for us during the winter tend to come from the Alberta region of Canada. That's just generality, but quick moving system in the winter. So here we are. There we are at 9, 10. You can kind of see that the snow shifts a little to the east. And I'm going to get a zoomed in shot on this here pretty quickly. Let's take a look at the system to the north coming in just to get some generalities on this too. You see how it moves in, comes across Wisconsin during the day today into the evening hours. But then watch what happens. The high has now shifted off and it's over towards Tennessee and maybe Alabama, northern Alabama, Arkansas, and back towards Georgia. And that has allowed the flow to shift a little more southwesterly. With that means there's moisture, a bit more moisture with the system. The quick moving Alberta clipper kind of taps into that in the front of the system, and we start to see snows falling overnight in Illinois and heading towards Lafayette, which is right here on the chart in Indiana. You can see that pretty clearly there. So as this is the let's go to midnight. There you go. Midnight's right there. It's not very far away. Over towards Rensselaer, looks like it's already starting to snow. State line, it's snowing. And then into Lafayette, while it shows most of the snow to the north of Lafayette, think that you'll probably see some flurries and light snow to the south of this. And when I zoom in a little closer, we'll get a bigger picture of it. But you notice the low pressure system to the north and all these little waves around the system, okay, what you're going to see. So here's the first little wave coming right through here, and there's the snow in front of that. And it kind of goes through overnight. There's a little lull, maybe mid-morning tomorrow morning, and then here comes another little wave coming in about the noon time frame, maybe 10 to noon tomorrow morning. And then there's a little lull with some light snow here or there. And then there's another little batch of some light snow as another little trough comes through tomorrow evening, late day in the afternoon. And you notice it's just a continuous off and on of scattered light snows, right? Through Saturday, it looks like at this point on this chart here right now. So let's zoom in a little closer. Let's go into the close in mode and go back to where we are. Here we are right now. We're basically at 15Z, 14Z, somewhere right in there is that's 9 o'clock, 10. You see the snow. Remember, we saw it on the other chart pretty easily. Now we're zoomed in closer. Lafayette is right here, just to give you a heads up. And as we move through the pattern, the snow actually just falls apart. Why? Well, why does it do that? Your flow's out of the north here this morning. You can kind of see that coming across the lake, right? That kind of flow. It's out of the northwest. Remember, the winds here in Lafayette currently were northwesterly, not due north, right? Due north, if they were due north, the clouds would be easier to come down. Hence, what did we see on the satellite picture? We started to see an opening because our winds are shifting a little more to the northwest and pushing the cloud cover this way. And there's much drier air over here. So as this northwesterly flow, and it doesn't take much, sometimes it's only 10 or 20 degrees, and it will open up the skies pretty easily for just about everybody. And it looks like that's what's happening. As Lafayette's turned to the northwest a little bit more, that dry air is coming across here instead of off of the lake, and we're getting a nice dry pocket of air starting to set up just to the north of Lafayette. And that could help us with less cloud cover as the day goes on today, if our winds stay out of the northwest. Let's go back and look and see what it says. And sure enough, when you look at the 15Z, we still have the flow off of the lake, but you're starting to see these isobars here are more westerly, right? from the west to the east, from the west to the east. Here, it's from the northwest to the southeast. And we are starting to get into that pattern. So as it does that, that will help push all of this flow off of the lake and make it go more off towards the east as the day goes on today. And sure enough, the snows in Indiana start to fall apart as we get into the afternoon and into the evening. Look at that. Even all the lake effect snow just pretty much falls apart. And then we start to get into a more southwesterly flow as we get into tonight and into tomorrow morning. And the next system with already cold air in here, right? We're already in our teens and 20s for today. Uh, is going to tap in and turn the moisture from the south and the southwest into some snows that will develop along the Mississippi River there pretty good. See how it pops up there. This is 9 o'clock tonight, and there's 10, 11, 12. Sure enough, about 1, 2 o'clock, here's some snowfall just off to the north of Lafayette, which is right about there. And this snowfall could be close enough to get into the area. So you're talking midnight to 2, give or take, an hour or so. And then by there you go, there's 2 in the morning, there's 3. It's kind of on everybody at that point at 3 in the morning and 4, 5, and kind of passes by. All right. By 7 o'clock, we're just kind of in some scattered stuff off and on snows, but there will be some wind with this system too, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I'm going to quickly go back out to snow accumulation, and you notice though, clipper systems don't drop a lot of snow, only shows a third of an inch so far with that system as it comes through. Now that third of an inch still can be blown around, and we still can have some problems on the roads on in any given spots, but most of the snowfall looks to be back towards the west right now. And as we advance this, it doesn't get much better, does it? You have half an inch maybe total. That's a half an inch here, about 4/10 of an inch in Crawfordsville. This is through tomorrow afternoon and into the evening. Oh, there's a little streak. So see, depending, look how streaky it is though. Same thing as with off of the lake. If this is only 10 to 20 miles apart, this little streak could be up here, it could be down here, might not be as intense. When you get into the streaky patterns like that, even though it shows 1.7 inches for Lafayette, let's keep this with an open mind. Definitely the potential by Saturday morning is an inch to maybe 2 inches. And so what you're going to see is pockets of 2 inches, but most everybody's going to have a half an inch to about an inch to an inch and a half, somewhere in that range, with some isolated pockets right near 2, based on the HER right now. And the HER's latest data just came out, 12Z run on this. So there you go. Let's go back to the HER, back to the precipitation type, and we'll go back to where we were. Here's the system moving through in the morning, and then just little waves. Here's a little wave with not much, but a little spotty snow could fall. And then you can see the next wave coming behind it, kind of stretching from Missouri all the way back up to the low, which is over Lake Michigan. And as it moves off towards the east, here comes the snow through. And there's some intensity in there occasionally. So off and on intense snowfall tomorrow evening. This will be Friday evening. And you're talking this about 6 o'clock. We'll call that 5, 6. There you go. Kind of pushes through 7, 8. And it's just off and on snow. Could be heavy at times. And that's how you're going to get a streak. I think the streak that shows right over Lafayette is probably due to this pattern, right? Let's see. It's just south of us, right? So there, it's kind of more like Crawfordsville. Then it would be kind of over us and off just to our west. This is where we saw the heavier snows there. And then there's that pattern over there where it says we could get an inch to 2 inches really quickly from the system, but it's going to have to set up exactly over the top of you. So expect it to be more spotty. One, 2 inches will be there as a possibility as it moves through, but most everybody's going to get about an inch by Saturday morning at this point, and it'll be blowing around. And then you see it just continues all the way into Saturday. So Friday night into Saturday, just spotty snow, and that flow, that pattern where the snow is setting up is kind of in our area. So while it's not heavy, it could be right across us, and we'll have to think about that by the time you get to Saturday morning. So have yourself prepared, basically, is what we're talking about. Today's your day to get out and do whatever you want to do. Try, even though it's cold, it's chilly out there. Most of the snows will stay off towards the east and that have already passed through, and the lake effect is going to try to do that too. And we see that right here. And then as the pattern goes on, we get the quiet, and then here comes the next system tonight, moving in for those of you going to work after midnight tonight. You have to keep an eye out for the icy roads and the icy conditions with the snowfall coming down and around the local area. So let's move on a little bit farther into the forecast. Actually, let's go back. Let's look at the temperatures real quick here for you guys. Let's try to cover everything. Let's go back to about where we are now. Let's see, 16, 15Z, 9 o'clock in the morning. Says it should be about 19 degrees roughly. And sure enough, it's 18. So it's not very far off at all. The model isn't. 19, 19, lots of, look at the teens up here. You got some tens up in the Wisconsin area, probably single digits just north of that. But the entire area, I don't even see some 20s. Well, over the lake, right? The lake is warm. So if you happen to be on a boat on the lake, Lake Michigan, is probably about 25 degrees because the water is warmer. So that's about the only place. You got to go way down to southwestern Missouri. How about Branson to find a temperature around 20 degrees this morning? Stays pretty chilly. Looks like we want to top off somewhere around 25, 26. I'm thinking with the open dry sky there for a bit now, we could pop 26, 27 on here pretty easily. There, as a matter of fact, it even shows if you move it around the local area. When you move the cursor on this College of DuPage charts, which I like because they're just easy to read, you'll get a reading of what the cursor is pointed at. And in this case, wherever the cursor is pointed at, it says it'll be 27 degrees. Winds will be 7 knots, and they'll come out of the 260 degrees direction. Up at the top, you can read the chart. It says 20Z. That would be 8 o'clock normally we would think of as 20Z, but it's a 5-hour difference from right now. So this is 3 o'clock this afternoon, topping out somewhere around 26, 27 degrees for Lafayette. Go on the higher side because it does look like we may get into some open sun this afternoon. Kind of stays there for a few hours, and you notice it doesn't like drop back off real dramatically overnight. It does get back to about 20, maybe even 19, 18, but not like 10 overnight. So it's still plenty cold here as that next system is approaching, right? You can see some of the warmth being pulled up from the south, but it just never gets back to here overnight tonight because there's no sunshine to help it, obviously. So it taps into some of that moisture that comes up with these warmer temperatures, and that's why we start to get the snowfall in our local area. And by tomorrow morning, we're still hovering around 23, 24. Notice it even warms up. And then tomorrow will be a little bit warmer, and we'll be right here in the afternoon hours. Temperatures 37 to 38. I think that's one of those open gaps between the two waves. And then the temperatures start coming right back down. And sure enough, by Saturday morning, here we are. Look at this. Even some single digits just to our north up here. As we are still kind of Saturday morning caught in the cloud cover that's behind the low pressure system. Remember, here's our flow now out of the northwest, pulling everything down, but the system is dragging down and along where this warm, it doesn't look like it. You're thinking yourself blue. It can't be that way. But in this case, this is a warm patch comparatively speaking to these single digits. 15 to 18 is warm, right? And that's where the cloud cover is, and some flurries and light snow still lingers Saturday morning. But to the north, boom, no cloud cover, right? And as soon as there's no cloud cover, that blanket that holds the temperatures in is gone, and everything that is on the ground moves into the atmosphere. All right, so and it gets colder. And that's what happens at night, generally speaking. Let's take a quick look at the winds and see what kind of problems we're going to have with that. Going back to today, it's already gusty this morning. When I went out for the MRI this morning with the wind chills somewhere, hovering around 10 degrees, give or take, it was cold getting out of the car trying to walk into IU and get my MRI this morning here in Lafayette. As we go through the day, it actually dies down a little bit. That's good news. Won't be quite as bad, and temperatures warm up, so it won't feel nearly like it did this morning. And then as the system comes in, you can see the pocket of 25 to 30 knot winds. So now you're talking 30 to 35 miles an hour here coming in from the northwest. And as it comes in late tonight, there we go, right after midnight, bam, here comes the big winds moving into Lafayette with that pocket of 20s to 30s just off to our west. 7Z, so 2 in the morning. By 3, it's on top of us, and this is a pretty good little shot right here. Gust of 27, 32, 30. So that, remember, these knots is actually miles an hour, is about 35 miles an hour. So tomorrow morning, 35 miles an hour. This is at about 3 in the morning. If you're, I know my wife is heading off to work around that time frame. She goes in really, really early, and those of you that are doing the same thing for the next few hours in the morning, very gusty winds. There we go. Even some stronger winds come in by about 7, 8, 9 o'clock, where we're hovering right at 35, everybody, for wind speeds knots, which is about closing in on 40 miles an hour for some of the gusts during that time frame. And it just kind of lingers all day. We're in the 30s most of the day, knot wise, which would be gusts up near 35 most of the day. It starts to die away a little bit, but we're still hovering around the 30-mile-an-hour mark for gusting winds. So the difference between a sustained wind and a gusting wind is sustained is kind of that steady speed. It's 10 miles an hour, but you get ups and downs during that period. So when it peaks and it goes up, it's a gust, right? So if it's 15 miles an hour, but then you get this big burst of 27 and then comes back down, that's a gust of 27. So you would have sustained winds at 15, gusting at 27. And while you're in that 27, you're getting a wind chill that's affectionately right with that speed, where at 15 miles an hour, it may only be 10. At 27, it might be 0 for your wind chill. And gusts come and go consistently. The stronger the system, the higher the winds, the more gusty it tends to be. And it looks like it's going to stay gusty all the way through tomorrow night. Big batch of 30s and maybe even some 40s to 50s just off to the west and southwest, and then back off towards our northwest too. So Illinois gets a little bit more wind, and then it kind of dies a little bit as it comes towards us. We get an off and on Saturday. It looks like we're going to be running into. Let's go a little farther out now. I'm going to go back to where we were with the precipitation charts. All right, so here we are today, right? Now let's change models. Let's go to the NAM Nest, which goes out just a little farther. This is the 12Z. It's almost finished, so let's see how it runs through. Pushes the snow off to the east, just as we thought it would. The timing on its snowfall, there you go, is 8Z, which is, again, that's 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's a little later with the snowfall, and Lafayette being right here at the crosshairs. That 1 to 3 time frame still fits pretty good. It comes in. It looks thicker, too, on this, to me anyway, on the NAM Nest. And this is the new NAM Nest. And then just like the other one, here we are. We're kind of on the edge of where the snowfall is. In between this wave and this wave, there's a really small little dinky wave, but it's enough to give us some light snow, it says. And then that kind of lingers into tomorrow evening. There you go. And then it gets spotty again, just like the other model did. And then it's kind of in little waves coming in as the next trough comes down Saturday night into Saturday. Well, this will be Friday night, excuse me, into Saturday morning before it starts to clear things off and brings in some more light flurries and light snow potential popping here on Friday into Saturday. So let's take a look at the snow ratio on this one. What does it say it's going to be? Well, there's all the snow coming off the lake. We've seen that. We've been talking about that being where most of the snow would be for yesterday and today, and it sure enough set up right there. Here's our snow spreading in from the west, and it gives us about an inch, 1.2 it looks like, with the initial snow coming through. And remember, I was saying most people are going to get an inch. The other model had that little streak, pushed us right up to 2, and that very hard to forecast a 10-mile wide swath of snowfall that's 2 inches. But let's call it an inch for sure. And some spotty spots will hit 2. And then let's see if anything lingers really. So that doesn't show much of a punch after that. And it really peaks most of the snow. You get the heaviest amounts tomorrow morning. So on the drive into work tomorrow morning is about when the heaviest snowfall should be hitting accumulation wise, and then just a little bit more in the afternoon. So that's the NAM Nest, which is goes out just a little farther than what we were looking at before. Let's go back to precipitation type and then hit the NAM, which is the North American model, and the NAM Nest is a North American model, but it's on a shorter time frame. This goes out a bit farther, another day or so. No changes. Again, this is kind of like the HRRR that we looked at first is kind of looking at your 4K visibility, right? Then you go to the NAM Nest and you're looking more at like 1080p. And when you go to the NAM here, where we're at now, you're looking at like 720p. That's kind of a way to think about how your systems and your models work. And the GFS is the same. It's way out. It's just a 720 model and it goes way out there. So it's not nearly as accurate, but it does give you good indications and good solid information, especially on the NAM. This NAM isn't that bad because it's only about 4 days out. But you notice it's pretty quiet, and then boom, and it goes in. This is a 3 hour pattern, doesn't go every hour. So it shows me at 9Z that's like closing in on us, if not on us. And then by 12Z, which is tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, there's snowfall everywhere. We kind of get an opening and we get a couple little spots of snow in and out. Same. So all the models are in agreement with scattered light snows afterwards into Saturday, hanging on till maybe Saturday morning before they try to push out of here. And that's exactly what this shows. Not much happening Saturday afternoon. And then it ends. It's only 67% done currently. It'll be done a little bit farther in another half hour or so. And the next update, probably after 10 o'clock, I will be able to show you even more of this model. But let's go to the GFS. This is the 6Z run, so it doesn't have any new data in it yet. But you can see that it shows the system kind of coming through us. This hasn't changed. This is Friday night, Saturday. There we go. It's just, notice it's more boxy, right? It doesn't have the details that the HER has in it. It's just kind of squared off boxes of where snow is. And I'm close in. So let's go out a little bit on this one real quick. Let's see here, sector selection, and we'll go to the wider out. And you notice you'll be able to pick up a little easier. Big high pressure back out here towards the west. It's setting up on Monday. And then, but what does that mean? Remember what I said about the clockwise flow around the system? If a big high is setting out to our west, that means our flow is from the north and northwest, which is where is all the cold weather this time of the year? It's to the north of us, where it is all every time of the year, just about. And then the people out to the west in Kansas, like the Rocky Mountains, are going to be very warm with this high pressure system setting up here. But that's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no real snowfall. The high is just kind of slowly shifting along. Looks like by Tuesday into Wednesday, we start to change the shift of the angle. And there you go. Wednesday, we still have cold air bottled up in here, but we're starting to shift our flow to the southwest, and a quick little clipper wants to come through. It looks like late Tuesday into Wednesday, and right now it misses us. And you can see the low here and the moisture is on the north side. Most of the snow misses us. It's not a big deal. And then we keep an eye on it. Here we are Thursday next week. High kind of moves through again. And then we start to get some influence from the south. This moisture is coming up from the south on Thursday into Friday. And right now it says Friday morning, there'll be some potential for some snow and some light rain to the south of us. That means some warmer temperatures, but it also shows a lot of pink in there, right? Pink for ice. Ice. So that's what you're running with that. On the ice front is your pink colors in there. Or at least they're pink to me. I'm a colorblind dude. But I can see that pretty easy. So, and then there's a pretty good system with a lot of moisture that goes to the south next or this coming Saturday, January 24th. So that's 9 days from now, next Saturday. And if you remember, on Monday, we were looking at a system that came up and it was like showing us that it would be here Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, it said it would be here Thursday. And now it's saying Saturday. You see how it keeps pushing it out? So these long range forecasts are harder to hit. And it just doesn't really show anything other than that. That was that one system. And now then there's another weak system from the south. And there we go. We start to get another influence from the north. Late in January as we head in towards February. And this chart goes all the way out to January 31st. So what I saw there was a pattern that was pretty much winter, right? Everything was mostly coming from the northwest or from the west, and that would be chilly weather for us, near normal temperatures or slightly below most days. There'll be some short periods where you jump up above normal. Not a lot of snowfall after this annoyance stuff we're going to see the next couple of days in and out, where we see a half an inch here or an inch there. So that's the way the pattern is kind of setting up long range like that. Let's go back a little bit here. There we go. Here's that system moving through right there. And in the next day or two, there's just snow everywhere, but it's just splotching and just not consistent anymore of where you would think it would be. and a quick look at the temperatures during this time frame on the long range. And here's the long range. Tomorrow, remember, I said it'll be a little warmer tomorrow. We'll get back up right around 35, give or take a few degrees before the system comes in. And look how the cold air off to our northwest starts to dive into our picture on Saturday. Let's see if there's any zeros in here anywhere. Well, we got some single digits to our north Sunday morning. And then Monday morning is the one where we're looking at. There we go. There's the big push right there. Monday morning shows 10, 7, so around 7 degrees there on Monday morning. I would not be surprised that if we got into a pocket of 0 to 5, and this will adjust. We're still 4 or 5 days out. So what is it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There you go. 4 days till we get to that. It may adjust and we'll see a little bit colder, but it stays cold. You notice, boom. It just doesn't get warm Monday. It's like 13 degrees there for the high. And then when we get on to Tuesday, the high on Monday, 11, 12, 14. Overnight, it stays in the tens, but then we start to get a little influx from the south. Here comes that low that we were talking about with some rain and ice potential next Wednesday, the 21st. And you notice the temperatures. Here's the warm air here. This is perfect scenario sometimes for ice. You've got very cold weather to the north. The weather to the south is warm, but not that warm. And we're hovering around freezing in Illinois towards Indiana. Watch how that moves towards us. And as it does, it warms up a little bit. And we're on this spot between colder air to the north, warmer air to the south, and we're kind of caught in between. So we'll keep an eye out on that one for the middle of next week to see if it does anything. 7 days away, look for adjustments. The low could go much farther south or much farther north, and that would change the entire forecast. But right now, something to watch. Here comes your high. On this model, shows it a little closer to us, and then goes by us next Thursday, Friday, and then here comes some warmth a little bit. I would call that close to normal. The end of January, we're probably seeing temperatures around 32 to 35 for your highs, generally speaking. So anything in the 30s is pretty close to normal. There's a 40 way out next Sunday. The first Sunday in a while, it's been warm. Seems like every Sunday it's cold. Then there's even some 50s there. And then I think there you go. You got the low goes by. We start to influx. We change our temperatures and we start to chill off again a little bit by the time we get to the end of the month. So the long range forecast looks chilly for a while, then some warmth in a week or so, and then back to a little bit of chilly conditions. When I go back to the current temperature, still they've bumped it up to 20 degrees. You notice they're also showing some more sunshine right now. And I go down and I look at the forecast. This is that weather trends chart, shows you the highs and lows for the since back in March, April. See that time frame. Your dotted lines on the bottom are your lows on average, and your dotted lines on the top are your highs on average. Shows you your big upswings to where we saw some warm weather. This is back in Christmas time frame where we didn't have any snow on the ground. Here's the cold that was just a few weeks before where we were -4, -5, -6 around December 13, 14, 15. Here we are today. We were warm yesterday and most days, but then we're going to go through some cold. There'll be a quick shot of warm and then back down to cold again on these forecast temperatures here, just to give you the trends of what we're looking at. I kind of like that chart. I think it's pretty easy for most of us to read too. So that's why I like that so much. 20 degrees right now, winds out of the west southwest, west northwest at about 11 miles an hour, and gives you a wind chill right around 10 if you're out and about this morning. So pretty chilly, at least on that front. I think I had one more thing I wanted to look at here. Let's go back to here and then let's hit some of the weather data real quick just to see what the observations are looking like. Surface charts, surface maps. I want to go with raw METARs by the state. I'm going to hit Indiana. And here's what Lafayette is actually reporting right now. KLAF is Lafayette. 9 knots on the winds, which is about 11 miles an hour. Unrestricted visibility, 10 statute miles, that means. Clouds are scattered with bases at 2,700, and they are overcast with bases at 4,200 feet. And that's aviation. That helps the pilots, obviously, so they know how high the clouds are. Temperature -8, which is what? 20 degrees. altimeters, 29er for your pilots out there again. So that's what it is in Lafayette right now. Is it snowing anywhere? Well, sure enough, it is. It's snowing at Grissom. Remember, off to our east. Is Logansport reporting anything this morning? I don't see anything on them. I'm not sure on their exact um, usage of their weather equipment either. So I'm not sure what that is on there. South Bend, it's snowing. They have 3/4 of a mile visibility up there in light snow and mist. BR is mist, which is fog, basically. And they're having to use runway 27 shows 6,000 feet for visibility. So you can see that it's snowing up there pretty good, right? For your South Bend area. Then when you push yourself over towards a couple other spots like Gary, I think this is Gary. GYY is Gary. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head. It's not snowing there, but they do have cloud cover. And you go down south, there's nothing, right? Clear skies. Evansville is looking great right now, although it's chilly. It's -7 there, so they're cold also, and not a lot of wind. You can also take this and you can put it in a format where it lines it up right next to each other in case you're wanting to look for specific temperatures. There's a 25 out there, but most everybody is pretty much in the teens. South Bend's at 12, and you go downstate to all the way down to Evansville, it's still 19 degrees down there. All right. So, and you can pick up that same thing with winds. You can pick up some higher wind speeds at times when you kind of line them up this way. Lafayette being right here, of course. There you go. So that's the current data locally on all of those. And I'll get back into the weather again in another half hour or so. Wow, we went a long time on that one, didn't we? uh, I try to go 20 to 30 minutes, but I think I may have gone a bit longer than that this time. And so before we get to the sports, I just wanted to remind everybody that hopefully they're prepared for the next couple of days with the in and out snows. Watch for the icy conditions. You just may have to take a little extra time. It's Indiana, it's Lafayette. We know how it works. We know how the snow is. If you've been here anytime, you go down to Atlanta, 2 inches of snow cripples the place. But you come here in Lafayette, 2 inches of snow doesn't do much other than slow us down. That's about it. Still got to be cautious, though, because there will be some icy conditions if you're in one of those little spots that gets 2 inches, while most of us get around an inch or so. Tomorrow, which is today's Thursday, tomorrow into Saturday is when it looks like those conditions will be there with some gusty winds, obviously. So, and a lot of the winds seem to be out of the northwest, which will still create problems on your east-west roads, right? But maybe even a little bit on the north-south roads will be picking it up too. So it could be both as this system moves through because of the direction of where it's coming from and that kind of thing. So 9:43, it's 20 degrees outside. And my first thing to think about, I'm not even going to go into world stuff. I'm going into basketball. Basketball, people. What a game last night. The men's basketball team took on the Iowa Hawkeyes at Mackey Arena, and they did pull off the victory last night. Score was 79-72, but man, Iowa, what they put up a great fight. You know, a lot of people keep saying to me, I can't believe they're not just blowing them out. They're not doing this, that. There is another team on the other side of the court, right? You are playing somebody. Somebody's playing defense. You're playing defense against them. Sometimes they make shots. At one point, Iowa made their first 5 3-pointers, all 5 of them. And 2 of them, the ball hit the rim and jumped 3 feet in the air, bounced around, and went in. So I counted at first when I first saw the first 2 like that went in, because I just watched a lot of the highlights. I thought, well, wow, that's kind of lucky, a couple of those. But hey, that happens once a game, once every other game, maybe twice here or there. And then I started counting them up because it started happening again, and again. So I looked through it, and there were 6 times that either the ball hit the rim, bounced 3 feet in the air, bounced around and went back in. And one time they banked in a shot. So of those 6 shots, 4 of those were 3-pointers. That's 12 points right there. 12 points. Purdue won by 7. That's a 19-point game if none of those 4 shots go in. And we'll give them the other 2, right? Assuming Purdue gets the rebound. But sometimes that's exactly what happens. That's why it's called basketball, right? In golf, we always joke all the why do they call it golf? Because all the other four-letter words were taken. Well, in basketball, sometimes the other team makes shots, and sometimes they're a bit bouncing around and they're a little lucky with it. That's for sure. But that doesn't mean Iowa is a bad team or anything. They're a really solid basketball team, and it was something to worry about that they could come in and upset Purdue because they played pretty well this season. The first half, Iowa led 34-31, and Purdue just didn't shoot the ball. They didn't. The defense wasn't the greatest, but then they came back really strong in the second half, outscored them 48-38. And in the last about 14 minutes, at one point, Purdue was down 48-39. They were down 9 points with like 14 minutes left. And then they went on the run and they basically outscored them 40-24 in the last 14 minutes of the game to win 79-72. Basically, also kind of steamrolled by Braden Smith. He got everything going. He started making shots, going to the rim, getting guys open again, and all of a sudden you could see the uptick in the flow, and it looked pretty good from that point on. But even that, with the 9-point lead, remember all the bounces around that went in and that kind of thing. Purdue would have been up by a few without those bounces, but that's still part of the game. In the long run, at one point, Iowa was 7 of 10 in the first half on three-pointers. Even Purdue doesn't shoot 7 of 10 most of the time from three-point range. So they were shooting 70%. By the end of the game, they were down to 48, which is still a great game on the road, three-point wise, even if 4 of them bounced around or were banked in. But field goal wise, they shot 52.9%. That is the same that Purdue shot, 52.9%. And Purdue was 43% on 3 points. So they were fine on the three-pointers. Purdue improved to 16-1 overall and 6-0 in the Big Ten Conference, tied with Nebraska still for the lead. 79-72 was the win, and it was in front of the 100th straight sellout at Mackey Arena. So tough to get the tickets to the games. And when you get there, make sure you leave without a voice. That's what I say. Cheer your team on. Make sure that you cheer them on really well and you enjoy yourself. It's also the 8th straight victory, and that's the second time. They started the season off with 8 in a row. Then they had that crazy, really rough loss to Iowa State, and now they've won 8 in a row again. So it's the second win streak of 8 games this season, and it marks the 6th time in school history that Purdue has had a pair of 8-game win streaks or longer in the same season. So that doesn't happen a bunch, but this is the 6th time it's happened. Purdue has yet to play a game this year decided by 6 or fewer points. Even in the loss, they kind of got blown out in that game. So no close games. Yet we keep hearing about, oh, they're so rough, they're going to lose. This was maybe the closest, and they really had to push it out there and play really good at the end of the game to take the lead. But it's just the way it is. When you're a good team, everybody's going to come after you. It doesn't matter who you are. That's the other thing. If Purdue's, Midland and Iowa's Midland, neither team is that enthusiastic about coming in all the time to win a game. And sometimes it can be easier. But when you're like one of the best teams in the country and you've been that for about 3 to 5 years now, everybody comes in and everybody is up to try to beat you. The first 10 minutes of almost every game is a dogfight back and forth, and then one team or the other starts to push its way around. And Iowa did that basically after the first 10 minutes last night, and they took control a little bit for a while there. And Purdue had actually come back and taken the lead. I believe it was 39-38 after they had gotten down a couple. So as the second half started, Purdue took the lead 39-38, but then bam, 10-point run from Iowa, and it looked like they were on the ropes, and it was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? And then Braden took over, all right? Purdue's 16-1 start matches the best 17-game start in school history, done 5 times. The last time was 22-23. All right. So a lot of those going on. And they also improved to 28-3 during the month of January since the 22-23 season. So they've only lost 3 games in January. And I can see them possibly getting through the month of January with no losses or another one loss, possibly. They're going out to the West Coast right now for the next couple of games. Travel can always be crazy. UCLA is pretty good. USC not as good. You would think you would easily beat USC, I'm just being honest. USC is not a ranked team, and Purdue is in the top 5 in the country. Even though it's on the road, Purdue should do some damage there. But then UCLA could be, because they're a better team, might give Purdue a pretty good run, and it's at their place. There's always an advantage being at your home field and your home court when it comes to basketball. Mackey is not a place most teams want to come and play. That is for sure. But nobody in the Big Ten wants to go on the road to anybody because it's hard to play on the road and you can lose easily. Michigan found that out pretty easily too. They've had some struggles like at Penn State. And a lot of the times, if you look statistically, even at the team that wins the Big Ten, say the winner goes 16-4. Well, 3 of those losses will be on the road and 1 will be at home. That's kind of how it works most every season. So a lot of teams, the best teams, go 9-1 at home, even 10-0, and they'll go 7-3 on the road, 6-4, that kind of thing. Hard to win on the road, and it doesn't matter a lot of times how good or bad that team is. They can be a bottom feeder like Penn State. Penn State pushed Purdue. Penn State pushed Michigan all in the same week, right? So they've been playing some good ball. That was last week. All right, so here's a crazy number. We already know statistically Purdue is the number 1 offense in the country. They only got 55 shots off yesterday, which I think is the least amount they've had all season. But they still got 79 points out of that, right? In the second half, they were 16 of 22 from the field, 72.7%, and made 9 of their 10 shots in the final 10 minutes to take the game and just run it, basically take it over. Purdue scored on 16 of its last 17 possessions. That'll do your ratings good, too, if you're already the number 1 team in the country. And they scored 32 points in that span. So Purdue shot 53% total for the game, and Purdue has now won 17 straight games. It's played on Wednesdays. Let's start playing on Wednesdays, right? 17-game winning streak. Last time they lost was 2019 on a Wednesday. And Purdue has now won, this is pretty cool, 999 games since the start of the 1980-81 season, which was the start of the Gene Katie era. So closing in on 1,000 games in the last 45 years. That's pretty good. The Purdue senior class now owns a 103-24 record. That's an 8-11 span, or statistically, number-wise, 103 over 24 losses. And that is tied for the 7th most victories by a senior class in Purdue history. Okay, so they're tied for the 7th most victories ever by a senior class, and they still have what? How many games left? That would be 16 games probably. So I don't know what the record is. It doesn't show it here on the stats, but I would think they would be breaking that by the time they're done with it, because they're going to be around anywhere from 113 to 120 by the time the season's over. 16 to 17 potential more wins easily. You got 6 in the NCAA tournament. You got 3 in the Big Ten tournament, probably because they'll probably get a high seeding in the Big Ten tournament. So there's 9 extra games after the season, and you have 14 left. So there's 23 potential more games. So they could be 126-24. That'd be pretty cool. And have a Big Ten championship, a Big Ten tournament championship, and the NCAA national championship. That's if they won out. Well, that would be the goal, right? You don't expect to win out, right? But you would want to try to win out. And who's next? Who's up next? That should be the moniker. And then who's up next is going to be USC on Saturday. And if I can find some information on the time, I'll give it to you here shortly. Remember I said Braden Smith took over. I don't think he shot in the first half. That's weird that he didn't shoot in the first half, especially after he came off of 2 big games. But that may have been the game plan. Make everybody think he's going to shoot. He gets the assist to everybody, and they run rampant. But Trey Kaufman-Renn got 2 fouls. Clough got 2 fouls. That meant guys off the bench had to come in, who came in and did a good job, that's for sure. The bench, one of the best benches in the country, which many games scores 20 points or more, just the bench itself, came in and did a great job again yesterday. But Braden, in the second half, finally said, I've had enough, and he took over. That is for sure. That is exactly what he did the 2 games last week. He took over, did what he had to do. He said, I got to score points. I got to score points because we're not scoring enough. We're not keeping up. When they got down by 9, he started doing it. He scored 16 points all in the second half. He had 8 assists total, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and he went 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. So he got some and one several times, and that sparked everything. Plus, he got some steals. There was a 4 possession stretch there where Purdue stole everything, or 4 out of 6 somewhere from Iowa, along with the and ones and a couple threes and some solid play. And all of a sudden, that 9-point lead gone. And Purdue got with them, and then shortly thereafter started to take the lead, and then they pushed it out and won the game pretty easily. Right now, Smith now needs 2 rebounds for 600 in his career, which would give him over 1,600 points, 900 assists, and 600 rebounds. And I'll bet if you put those numbers up through all of NCAA history, he's either number 1 or number 2 in having more than 1,600 points, more than 900 assists, and more than 600 rebounds. There won't be but one guy who's done it, because when I've seen these numbers before, it was only one. I don't even remember who it was. So he is up there, definitely. Smith tied Cassius Winston, who did it in 76 games for the most assists in Big Ten conference games. Now he has 478, but he did it in 66 games. So there you go. Smith already has 164 assists this season, which is tied for 13th most in Purdue history. And how many games I said they have left, right? So 14, they have the potential for 23 more games. At 9 a game, or even 10. Let's go for 10. We're going to shoot for 10. That's 230 more assists, which will get him up over 300 again, almost over 400, closing in on that. That would be an outstanding. He will break the NCAA all-time assist record sometime late this season, it looks like, as long as he stays on pace. Trey Kaufman-Rand had a kind of off game too, but then he turned it on a little bit in the second half. So your big players came to the top, came to the cream of the crop, right, for sure, during that time frame. And when they did, we started seeing a good team flowing much better, quicker. They were moving fast. That's what I want to see. I know Iowa did exactly what they thought they needed to do. If you are the team that is the lesser of the two teams statistically, right, you want to slow the game down, because if you give Purdue 70 possessions, Purdue's going to score 100 points. You give them 50 possessions, they're only going to score 80 points. And that's exactly what happened. Purdue got 55 possessions and scored 79, right? And that kept the game close for Iowa. But if you're the good team, you want as many possessions as you can get, in my mind, and you want to move quickly, because the other team is now chasing you at every moment. Just coming down the court, setting up, moving guys. Guys are moving. I understand all that. I like this stuff where they shoot really quickly. Boom, 1 pass, 2 passes. Someone's got the ball wide open and shooting. That being said, I saw a lot of wide open shots missed yesterday by Purdue, and I saw a lot of wide open shots by Iowa that got drained early, especially in the game, especially with a couple bounces. So that's just kind of the way it went. Oscar Clough had 10 points with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. And because of his 2 fouls, what's his name had to come in. Let me go back to the stats, see if I can find him here real quick. Box score. There we go. For Purdue, right? So Braden was in the game for 36 minutes, but because Oscar Clough had foul trouble, Daniel Jacobson had to come in for 17 and a half minutes. And that's about what they've been kind of averaging. Although we've gotten into the Big Ten season, Oscar's been playing more for obvious reasons. He's kind of slightly better. But in Daniel Jacobson's time, he had 9 rebounds and 7 points. So that was pretty good. When you add the two together, you got 17 points and 13 rebounds. That's from your center. We'll take that every game, but I would call it an off game for Oscar, despite the fact he was 4 of 4 shooting. He only had 4 rebounds, which is definitely unusual for him. But Daniel Jacobson made up the difference, right? He was out there and he got the 9 rebounds when he was playing. TKR only had 2 rebounds, worst he's had all season too. So you're going to have games like that, right? You're just going to, where you're off a little bit here, you're off a little bit there. He might rebound the next game and have 15. Right? Same thing with Oscar. That's just the way it will work out. Oscar was 4 of 4 from shooting, though. So when he did get the ball, he put it in the basket, so to speak. And he was 2 for 2 on free throws. And that was another big thing in the game. Purdue was 19 of 22 on free throws. And they have had some ugly games this year where they shot below 50% and kept teams in games because of that. This time they didn't. That came forward, and they were able to go ahead and win the game because they were 19 of 22. Now let's take a look. Braden's numbers, like I said, he was in for 37 minutes. He was 6 of 9 from the field. He had 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and scored those 16 points. He was the high scorer. TKR did score 12 points, still got 2 rebounds. He also had 3 assists. But he and Braden had three turnovers apiece, but the team was still in single digits for turnovers at only 9. Third high scorer was Fletch. Fletch was 3 for 7 on field goals, only 1 for 3 3-pointers. I want to see Fletch shoot 10 a game. Fletch shoots 10 a game, makes 4 or 5 of those, and Purdue wins. It's the numbers are there. It always shows it. If he makes 4 3-pointers, they win. They're 20-0 when he does that, or something along that. So let's do that. Let's get Fletch some shots. Come on, coach, get him going. Oscar, get some shots down in the paint. Trey, the floaters not quite there. Let's work on that a little bit, Trey. We love you, brother. Let's keep it going. We love that you took on the rebounds and have improved those so much this year. Floater's a little off right now, but I got a feeling you're going to come back on strong here pretty good. We love you, TKR. CJ Cox, a little quiet this game. He still scored 9 points, right? He had 1 assist, 1 rebound. He is your defensive specialist. I'm kind of surprised he didn't have a steal or something like that because it doesn't show any here on the numbers. I would call it offensively. He was a little quiet because he's been scoring like 15. So 9 is a little quiet for him as of late. Only took 4 shots. Matter of fact, take a look at this. Trey Kaufman ran and Smitty took 19 of the shots. They only took 51 total shots. That's what Iowa did. They tried to keep Purdue limited on possessions and how many shots they would get. And they shot 51 times and they scored 79 points. So it kind of shows how that works and how you can get into that. So if you don't make your free throws, the game is really tight. You might even lose, right? You shoot 45% with free throws. You only make 10, you lose the game. And that's what they had done a couple of the last few games. They didn't lose those games, but they kept other teams close and in them because they shot 45% 1 or 2 games. Kind of fluky because this is really a good free throw shooting team. Points in the paint, Purdue had 32, and they had 16 off of turnovers. Bench points, remember I said 21. Jack Benner came in and had 6. Daniel Jacobson had 7 to go with his 9 rebounds, right? There were also 2 assists from Jack Benner. And what did Jack do on the threes? He was 2 for 5 on the threes. Omer came in 55, 5 points for him. He was 2 or 3 on his field goals, 1 of 1 on the 3-pointers. He looked pretty good. He played some solid defense. I liked what I saw there. And Jakari only scored 3, but man, he seemed like he was everywhere. He had a rebound. He got that 3-pointer at a great time. He had 2 steals. He played 19 minutes. Jakari, we got to get him a few more shots, maybe be more aggressive, whatever it is. Jakari's still doing what he needs to be doing. So you got your 5 starters, Braden, Trey Kaufman-Renn, Fletcher Loyer, Oscar Clough, and CJ Cox. Your 4 guys off the bench who are playing consistently is Daniel Jacobson, Jack Benner, Omer Meyer, and Jakari Harris. And they're I would say they're averaging close to 20 points a game between those 4 to 5 guys coming off the bench. You can add in Liam on there, and he will be another guy who gets, a few minutes here or there, but he just didn't play yesterday. And it's kind of how the way it works. Sometimes he's in the mix, but he's not in the mix, which is a bummer because he can shoot some threes too. We have some 3-point shooters on this team. That is for sure. So 79-73 was the win. There were 6 shots that just bounced all over the rim and went in. 1 was banked in, and 4 of those were 3-pointers. And that was probably the reason that Iowa stayed as close as they were. Hey, give them credit once in a while. That happens for Purdue too. I can remember a banked in shot on a 3 last game, 2 for Penn State. So it does happen, but it's usually once a game, not 4 to 6 times a game, which is what happened yesterday in that game. So kind of crazy on the numbers there, but pretty exciting. Purdue will be on tap again for Saturday, it looks like. Again, out at USC. Let me go see if I can find some numbers on that real quick. Let's go to ESPN, the magazine. Still love that commercial. Sorry. Pops out every time I do it. I know. Don't have to be doing that. Let's find the teams. Purdue, Big Ten. Hopefully you're staying warm. You notice I got a little bit of something warmth on as I sit here in the corner of my studio. and it's a little chilly in here at times, so I had to kind of keep track of that. So again, Nebraska and Purdue are both 6-0. Nebraska is 17-0 on the season. That's going to be an exciting game against Nebraska coming up pretty soon too. But Saturday at 6 o'clock our time, 6 o'clock, a USC game is on Peacock, and on Peacock next Tuesday, the 20th. So the 17th they play, and then they follow that up on the 20th at UCLA, and that one's at 10 p.m. and also on Peacock. Looks like three of their next four games are on Peacock. So USC, UCLA, then they come back home against Illinois next Saturday at 3 p.m. That's on Fox. And then 3 days later, they're at Indiana, and that's on Peacock. So three of the next four are on Peacock. So if you got Peacock, you're watching the games. Those of us who don't, we ain't watching them. I'm watching the highlights after the games, which is unfortunate. I like watching the game, but still get to see a lot when you go to YouTube or wherever you go to get your information, your highlights, and what you're going to be running into for highlights of the game. They're all over the place on the internet, so you'll be able to find them. It's just you got to wait a little bit when it does happen. So we're going to shift some gears here real quick. Let's hit weather real fast. Just give you a quick update. Temperature's 20 degrees. We're heading somewhere around 25 to 27 today. Spotty sun in and out at times. And it looks like we have snow moving into the forecast for later tonight. And it's going to linger all the way through Saturday with little waves here or there. Most of us are going to see around an inch over that period. A few of us are going to see about 2 inches. And it's going to be blowing again, too, with temperatures staying pretty chilly, except for maybe during the day tomorrow, where they'll be up around 30 to 35, depending on where you are at any given point. I just took a quick look at the satellite, and it looks like the open spot to the north of Lafayette is almost on top of us. So that's good news. Maybe some sunshine will help warm your day up. Let's get into some local news here and try to see what's going on. You know, Governor Braun was out and about. He did his State of the State address last night, I believe it was. And he basically talked about how good things are, which is always something they do. Some of the achievements, light on new goals, and he also had a few football call outs, obviously, with the Indiana game coming up. Indiana plays Monday night for the national championship, I believe. It's Monday night, and I'm pretty excited about that. If it's not Purdue, I'm happy with the Hoosiers being in there. I would prefer it to be Purdue maybe next year or the year after. As quickly as Indiana got good, maybe Purdue is going to get that good also. Everybody thinks that, right? First off, nobody believed Indiana could be this good this fast, but they are. Undefeated, playing for the national championship, and I'll be rooting for them on Monday night. And all my friends out there, half of them are Indiana fans anyway. Well, okay, maybe a third, and the other 2/3 are Purdue fans. So the governor said this: with our strong business environment, it's not surprising that another organization has noticed that Indiana is open for business. That would be the Chicago Bears. We are working hard to bring the Chicago Bears to the Hoosier State. Put them up there in Gary, right? They're not going to change their name. They're still going to be the Chicago Bears. If you know anything about like New York football, there's two teams in New York City, but neither play in the city. They play in New Jersey, right? Well, it'd be the same thing for the Bears. They would just play in Gary or Valpo, somewhere from Valpo over to the state line, probably around the Gary area, where they can find themselves a big patch of land, and Indiana will be willing to help them. Why? Because that's money for Indiana, sure enough. So governor's on track with that. But most of the address focused on affordability for Hoosiers, from electric bills and rent to property taxes and childcare. It's all on board and important to a lot of the members of the House here in Indiana, and to the governor himself. He said, together, we can make Indiana the state where your dollar goes further, where opportunity abounds for all who are willing to work hard, and where every Hoosier worker can build the life they deserve. Exciting speech. They're always uplifting, that kind of thing. He talked about some of the highlights and the really good stories that Indiana has to tell. There's lots of hard things that happen in this place. This is the response from Bray, Roderick Bray. He's a Senate President pro tem, Roderick Bray. He called it a good speech. He said there's a lot of things that happen in this place We are going to continue to come to work and do good work for Hoosiers and look forward to working with the governor for that and with the House as well. Democrats pointed to numerous ways that Republicans are now hopping on the affordability bandwagon, giving examples of bills that the Democrat caucuses have offered in recent years, but that Republicans rejected. If state House Republicans wanted to lower costs, they would have already done that by now, said House Democrat leader Phil Giaquinta. They've been in a charge for the past 20 years, and Governor Braun is catching up the fact that Hoosiers are struggling. No, he's not. The entire country is struggling. We know that. The House Democrat leader knows that also. The state of Indiana is still in a pretty good place. Having been around the country in many different places and many different states, the state of Indiana is a pretty good place to live. I take it over a lot of other places. My wife would take something much warmer. How about that? That's about it. And during the winter, she's getting to the cold. So as we get older, maybe someday we're going to be heading south ourselves. Who knows? So here's something that I see here. It just popped up on me. While on the topic of energy, Braun issued a full-throated declaration of support for data centers. Data centers seem to want to come all over the state right now. The behemoth centers have roiled numerous Indiana communities, with Hoosiers concerned about electricity and water usage. I'm definitely worried about the water usage, the electricity. Where are you going to find it if these places basically are small towns. They take in one as much as many towns in the state. So something to think about. Also, he's got AI on here. AI is going to be key to the jobs and wages of the future, but data centers can't stick Hoosiers with the power bill because a lot of them want everybody else to pay for everything, right? Well, we're bringing all this stuff into your state. You can pay for this or that and the other. And I can see helping them. Most of the time, you give them some kind of tax breaks, right? But I'm not going to pay your power bill. Not if you're going to have the biggest power bill in the state, that's for sure. At least I don't think we should. Companies that want big power in Indiana should pay their own way, is what he said. And that goal isn't fully codified, but rather an informal policy in negotiations for state support. Braun hailed Amazon building a $1.5 billion data center in Northwest Indiana, saying they're going to pay for every cent of their power needs and then some. Moving to home ownership, Braun said he supports a bill from GOP Rep Doug Miller, who's out of Elkhart, to remove government hurdles and make it easier for Hoosiers to chase the American dream of owning a home. That is one thing that is annoying, but it's annoying in every state. Some are a little worse than others. Um, in Tippecanoe County, we're probably playing, if we are not paying the highest taxes in the state, we are very close. We are the most regulated county in the entire state. By numerous people have said that Tippecanoe County is. They got their hand in everything, apparently. Now, I've only noticed it with houses and things like that because I have a house and my taxes have gone up on the house. All right. So home prices have surged because we aren't building enough, and unnecessary regulations are driving up costs, is what the governor said. So how do we get rid of that? Well, don't get me wrong. The county needs money to do whatever, and we are in a big growing county, Tippecanoe County. Um, but are you going to drag that all from the people who own homes or are trying to own homes and jam everybody into the big apartment complexes that are popping up all over Lafayette and West Lafayette? That appears to be what their plan is. And that plan has been in the same mode since Obama was in. The mode was to get everybody to the outskirts of every town and put them into housing areas that could be controlled very easily. And you're going to be that's what you see popping up all over Lafayette. I see it on the north side. I see it on the west side. I see it on the south side. You've all seen it too. And that is the idea. And secondly, they are more profitable to build those for the builders than they are to build single family homes anymore. Single family homes, the money has shrank for each home that they build. Plus, it's harder for people to get into them now with the high interest rates. So that's been a trouble there that we need to watch out for sure. Now, the governor says under his watch, the administration has cut reimbursement rates and capped child care vouchers for low-income parents. That has led to wait lists and daycare centers closing around the state. I would like to see a program where businesses have skin in the game to help grow child care programs. I hope we don't have the same problem they have in Minnesota, which is where everybody's scamming everybody out of money, right? As soon as you figure out how you can write for a grant or something like that, and you send it in, they will send you money right away. Well, then you don't even have kids in your place. That's what's going on in Minnesota. It's $2 billion. $2 billion. Somehow they walked $700 million in 2 years out of Minneapolis, St. Paul through the airport and flew it just to Somalia. So where else is money going? $700 million in 2 years. That's $1 million a day, roughly. Somehow they got that through the airport in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and got it to Somalia. That doesn't sound like there's a problem there. Who didn't see that? How come we didn't hear about it till now? Why has it been going on for years? Who's scamming the system out of money up there in Minneapolis, St. Paul? If I was in Minneapolis, I'd be like, what is going on? Now I'm wondering what my state's doing, because it sounds like lots of states are doing the same kind of scams, taking our tax money and using it for different things and lining their own pockets. Okay. All I want is it to be proper. That's it. It seems like I'm at a church. We have to have all of our P's and Q's lined up in case we do something wrong. If we took in something here money wise and we didn't tell somebody about it or that, we got to make sure that everything's lined up. Well, why aren't these businesses? Who's keeping an eye on them? Why did no one pay attention until this guy went around and found all these daycare places didn't have kids and were getting millions of dollars per year? That's them, and that's still in the state. That doesn't even count the money that went out of the state that people have lost. And from what we hear, Minneapolis and St. Paul and Minnesota isn't even the big boy on the block when it comes to this kind of stuff. You go to California, it's supposed to be even worse. All right. You go to New York, it's even worse. So, how much money are they losing in their state? How much money is disappearing in their state and going into other people's pockets? Going to be hard to see, hard pressed to see. And it looks like they're going to see over the next year. We're going to press forward with this and try to figure out what states are doing what. It's going to be kind of exciting only because I really want to see us get everything back into line. So the money goes to the kids or goes to where it's supposed to go, not the people who say they're going to help kids or someone who says they're going to build a new building and never does it, but takes the money anyway. Stuff like that. All of us kind of like that. We don't want people stealing money, and it shouldn't be one of those things where it's the mafia run by our own basic politicians and our people in our communities. All right. And that's kind of what it is. It's kind of like the mafia taking over. Here's some other things. This one was from Todd Huston. He's the GOP House Speaker. He said the best thing we can do is to help support more supply, and the government's not going to be the best avenue to do that. The best avenue to do that is reduce the regulations and let a lot of these folks that used to provide childcare without having the burden of all these government regulations that just do nothing but drive up costs. So remember, I said regulations, everything's regulated. Yeah, you got to give us $25 for this. You got to give us 100 for that. You got to make sure that this can fit on the property the proper way. And you need to pay $150 to somebody to make sure that it's done in the way it's supposed to be done. Your daycare should be set up like this, but nobody was following it in Minneapolis. But they do seem to be following it in Indiana, I think. So how do we stop all this? And that's what Huston was talking about there. These savings have come through increased eligibility checks, tightened regulations, and cuts to some programs. He was talking about Indiana's Medicaid program for finding $465 million in savings. So if they save that much, it can be put back into the people, which is great. Most of us love that too. For those that are on Medicaid or Medicare, getting help and support for them, as long as you're someone who's supposed to be on it, right? Don't scam the system there either, because we know that's happening also. Let's see what else we got going on here. There's all kinds of different things happening over the last couple of days since I wasn't on the air yesterday. The Indiana House Committee passes capital case protections while Senate holds firing squad bill. Firing squad bill. Let's see what's some information on this. An Indiana House Committee unanimously advanced a bill Wednesday tightening protections for defendants with intellectual disabilities in capital cases, while a Senate proposal allowing firing squad executions remains on hold as lawmakers approach key legislative deadlines. Other death penalty related bills filed this session have yet to receive hearings. Legislatures have just 2 weeks to move legislation to the House and Senate floors, and the bills must advance from committees by January 26th and to opposing chambers by January 29th. First off, what takes so long in the first place? And secondly, now there's a big rush to get it all done. Why is there a set time that they got to get it done if you're going to take forever to do it in the first place? So, um, I don't know. It's just annoying. Under current law, the court must make determinations within a more narrow, early pretrial window for people on death penalties and defendants if a court determines at any time before trial that the defendant has an intellectual disability. So that's to protect them, to protect those folks with disabilities on there. Let's see what else. So there's bills that are going to be going through the House and through the Senate, the Indiana House and Senate. That's what you're seeing, at least on those fronts. I want to go over to Star City here real quick and hit them. I saw this little story on the front there. Dayton elementary teacher receives Golden Apple Award for efforts in classroom. This is awesome. She won $1,000. It was given to 5 teachers, including Dayton's Sarah Harmon. I don't know Sarah, but congratulations to her. Let me see if they got some of the other people listed in here. No, the story's just about Mrs. Harmon, which is great. She said, I've learned lots of stuff from Mrs. Harmon. This is one of her students. She's very sweet and nice. She's probably my favorite teacher of all time. She does a lot of fun activities that still help us learn about these things. And these are all different students that said these different things. She cooks for us. We have fun little parties, and she's such a hard worker. She's seriously probably the best teacher ever. Isn't that awesome? That's awesome. She's an elementary teacher there at Dayton. My grandkids, two of them went through the Dayton Elementary when they were little, and hopefully they didn't torture Miss Harmon too much. Miss Harmon, the recognition came with $1,000 for her, and it will help further students' learning. If I know Miss Harmon, and I don't know Miss Harmon, but I'm guessing Miss Harmon takes that $1,000 and puts it into her students. That's probably the way she is. That's awesome for her. She said this, the kids just bring such great joy every single day, and that's why I keep doing it. They're amazing and wonderful, and we learn from each other every single day. That's what your teachers are supposed to be about. She said it does just open up some doors of some different projects and things that maybe we wanted to do. And she's talking about the money here. But then I'd need to ask parents for donations or I'd need to fund it. Harmon explained, it's just nice to have a little bit of extra there that we can do projects without asking financial help from someone else. Told you she would pour the $1,000 straight back into it because that's what I would do. I know that. Great teacher there, Mrs. Harmon. Sarah Harmon won that. Maybe they'll come back and they'll tell us who the other 4 people were, but it says 5 won the award. Maybe it's 5 across the state. Let me see here. Greater Lafayette Commerce for creating an effective. I'm not sure. She was given the award and $1,000, and they gave that to 5 teachers in the area. But hopefully they'll do some stories on the other ones too, instead of just Miss Sarah Harmon. But she's still a great teacher, right? There are some things coming out. Snow emergency notifications are now delivered through separate email lists. If you got them, you can get on their list. The city of West Lafayette is changing their notifications about snow emergencies and emergency snow routes. And the new dedicated email list is now separate from the street and sanitation alerts. People who would like to receive notifications about snow emergencies must subscribe to the new email list. And you can subscribe online. Let me click on it real quick. Where does it take you? Oh, there it is. It's a link outside of Facebook, but where's it going to? It's part of the public West Lafayette site there, so that's where you'll be going with that. Pretty cool. They're on Star City News. That's what one of theirs. One of the things they're talking about was the teacher, and then the snow emergencies. Some of the reactions we talked about a couple days ago about Indiana taking over and what Purdue fans thought. ICE detains a Tippecanoe County man after arrest. It doesn't matter which side of the line you are on this. This man was arrested in Tippecanoe County. He's now in ICE custody. He's 27 years old. His name is Josue Navarro. It's not Jose, Josu Josue. I've not seen that. Um, he was charged with criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon and unlawful possession of a firearm after reports of a shooting at Candlelight Plaza. The sheriff's office confirmed Navarro has now been placed on a detainer by ICE. He'll be disappearing into wherever country he came from and going back because he is breaking the law, as the kids like to say, bigly. Right. So there you go. ICE detains Tippecanoe County man after arrest. Yes, he may be living in Tippecanoe County, but he still came here illegally. And what they do with him now is hard to say. Will they put him up on trial and charge him with anything, or will they just go ahead and deport him somewhere? Um, the people who are creating felonies, doing things like this, having problems, these are the people that ICE is picking up. These are the people that everyone's arguing ICE shouldn't be doing this or whatever. ICE is not blanketly grabbing people off the streets who have done nothing. The vast majority of them are criminals in one way or the other, right? Uh, so almost everybody agrees that that is a good thing to do. And as I have told you, I think it was Tuesday, it's easy to see where this is going, and I'm okay with it myself. We're going to get rid of as many of the criminals as we can. We lock down the border, and we are eventually going to have amnesty for all the people who are still left here. All right. So those of you on the other side, all scared, they're going to take everybody and they're going to run. That's not what's going to happen. As a right-leaning conservative type person, not wave right, but kind of right-leaning, I can see this happening and I want it. I'm fine with it. Maybe everybody checks in, we figure out who everybody is. There's a fine of some type for being here. They start going through their processes, and then just like the people who come into the country, 10 years from now, they become citizens of our country. We give them numbers, we get them into the system, they pay taxes just like everybody else, and everything gets back on the level that it should be. And you can see it because our country will not support deporting everybody, even if there's just some woman with 3 kids in town. We won't support that. Doesn't matter whether you're left or right. The right doesn't like that either. That's why they get in a big uproar about taking your criminals and sending them back to wherever they came from. No one ever talks to them about what do you think about the families and that kind of thing, because we're trying to get our space known about, right? The left wants everybody to think that they're going to deport everybody. And it's the worst thing in the world because they're trying to use it for whatever they need. But the right doesn't want that. The reality is most people on the right just want the criminals taken and put back and to have locked up the border so people don't keep coming and going as easily. Most people on the right, probably 50%, maybe even more, know that amnesty's coming and it's going to happen anyway. So I'm okay with it, actually. I don't have a problem. Good people out there. Good people came to the country for a better living. Uh, Assimilate into our country, join in, have fun, pay your taxes, live like the rest of us. That's great. I like that. Most of those folks are good. We all know that. Stop telling us that. Everybody knows that most of the people who come here that are illegal are good people. We're getting rid of the bad people, generally speaking, most of them, the vast majority of them. And the lists are long in Minneapolis, St. Paul, of the people that were just roaming the streets, rape, murder, felony convictions of all types. Some of them were convicted felons in their country and came here and became convicted felons and were still walking around on the streets um, because one side of our aisle doesn't want to do something bad to them. I don't understand what that is. You still have everybody else there. There's a reason why Hispanics increased their voting towards Trump because they vote on a more conservative side, generally speaking, on their own. And when they saw what one side was showing and what the other was, they leaned and started pushing towards the right. At the left, you're going to take it too far at some point, and everybody's going to get away from you. You took it too far, and you ended up with Trump as your president. And you got to put that on yourselves, right? You tried to call him every name in the book. Someone tried to kill him. You attacked him while he was president falsely. Russia, 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 all these different things. People noticed. You pushed him back into the presidency because of the things you did on your own. You got to get your place in store. Tell me what you really believe. Stop jumping out there for these wild things that only 10 or 20% of the public believes in. All right. Um, that kind of goes back to the shooting last week of the woman. There isn't a single person yet that I've seen anywhere that said she believes that she deserved that. No, it was an incident that happened, shouldn't have happened. It would have been great if she just got out of her car. Never would have happened, wouldn't it? When she was told 3 times, "Get out of the car," by the police, by the ICE agents, everything would have been fine. Instead, she jammed it into reverse, and then she jammed it into forward and hit the gas, and there happened to be a deputy in front who didn't know what to think in a split second, pulled out his weapon and shot at her. All right? None of us wanted that to happen. None of us wanted that woman's kids to not have their mom. But it was an incident that happened because she put herself in a place she probably shouldn't have been. Um, I see that there's some GoFundMe pages out there for her family. That's great. They're taking care of the family. People are doing that kind of thing. The officer was put in a bad spot. Clearly, on the one view, he's hit. You can see it. Now, I've said, like most of us, I'm not a police officer, first off. My first thought would have been just get out of the way of the car. But his first thought was, I got to stop this woman because she's starting to advance and and these guys are telling her to get out and she won't. And as she comes towards him, it all happens like that, a split second, a half a second. He makes the decision to pull out the weapon and he shoots at her because he thinks he's going to get run over as he's getting hit, even if he bounced off of the car pretty good like he did and kept his feet. None of us wish it had happened, but why was she in the street blocking it for 4 minutes in the first place? She wasn't just backing up and turning around. Her wife was egging them on. They were trying to make something happen. They weren't trying to be killed. I understand that. But when you press the gas with an officer in front of you and you appear to be running him over, and he thinks that, and I think most people think that's what happened, he reacted like he did. I wish he didn't. I think I would have just jumped out of the way first and then we'd have chased her down. That's my first thought. And I wish it had gone that way, but it didn't. But he was in his rights to do what he did by the law, by what has happened in the past. Um, and maybe it doesn't make it right. And we lost a lady. None of us want to do that. The family's going to suffer. But we got to get these things straightened out, guys. Why are you fighting ICE? Telling everybody they're a worse thing. What am I hearing? They're executing people on the street. You want to know who's executing people on the street? Iran is doing that. Over 20,000 people have been killed. And you are telling the United States people that ICE is as bad as Iran on the news. That's what your side is saying. Watch your news. That's what they're saying. That's what they're telling people, that our ICE agents are as bad as Iran, who executed 20,000 people, upwards of that number in the last week. And we have one shooting and we're the worst people in the world. Stop yourselves. It's political. You're working for power, you're trying to get power. Stop lying about everything. Okay? And the right, you're not much better. Just a hair better. That's it. You lie constantly too to get things that you want to. One side's strong and out in front and tries to push everything through and is willing to do anything to get it, illegally or not legally. The other side's kind of complacent, but will lie to you to get what they want too. So which side do you like the most? It's hard to say. I just want good for everybody. Is that hard to be? It's not hard to do. It's not hard to do. That's why you'll find some of my thoughts on the left and some of my thoughts on the right. And my theory still goes. Most Republicans, two-thirds of what they think is conservative, but a third is probably liberal on that side. And I believe liberals are exactly the same way. Two-thirds of what they think is liberal, but a third of it is also conservative. But we never get together. We just fight over it the whole time. And then we get it in our minds. It doesn't matter what it is. The other guy is the opponent, and we got to beat them. And we don't care what we see on video or hear. That guy murdered her. He didn't murder her. You know that he didn't murder her. But you're going to say it and keep saying it and keep saying it because you think people will listen. And because your outcome is something else. And you're trying to use what happened to that woman last week. That's just what I see. I'm sorry. You may not like that, and if you're on that left and you want the ice and you're not gonna like that, but if you're on the right, you're not any better. You're still using it for your advantage too. So both sides are doing it. It's just a shame. It's a shame. When woman lost her life, family's gonna be uprooted with all kinds of different things happening to them, and we're more worried about what kind of political gain we can get to make a president look bad for trying to get people out of the country who are felons. And if you're still trying to tell yourself, well, it's I'm in the right here, I'm not sure. Just not sure what all of us are thinking or where we're going with this. It's not in a good place, though. I know that. It's not in a place I want to be. So, all right. What other kind of news we got in here locally? We're going to get into all kinds of things. It's 10:36. Let me pop back to the weather real quick. We'll run over a couple things. I think the temperature actually went down a little bit. Did it go up to 22? It's 20 now. Okay, it's 20 is the actual temperature. Let me pop back to the charts. We'll cover that real quick. This will be the quick version of weather, right? Chance for me to take a drink. It's 10:36 right now. Currently in Lafayette, it's 20 degrees. Winds are out of the west northwest at 10 miles an hour. It gives you a wind chill right around 10 degrees, roughly. Visibility is unrestricted, and it looks like the clouds are starting to clear off a little bit. Let's go look at the satellite picture real quick. Here's the outside version. You can see the system up in Wisconsin. This is the system that will be heading towards us overnight tonight. Down around us, with Lafayette being right about here, there are clouds coming off of Lake Michigan, which have been coming off of there because of the northerly flow of wind coming across the lake has now shifted a little bit to the east. It's still snowing over at Grissom, Logansport, Winnemac, back up towards South Bend, those places. The dry air and the shift to the northwest and west northwest for us is bringing in the dry air over Illinois instead of the moist air over the lake, right? So you see this big gap starting to open up. And let's go in a little closer here and see what we can find out. Let's see if we can hit it pretty good. Look how close we are. Okay, so here's Lafayette, right? There's I-65 crossing the river Lafayette right in this general area here. Looks like we're starting to clear out all these clouds off to our east, and you can see the influx of the south or the northwest, west-northwest wind pushing from Illinois into Indiana and drying out the clouds on this backside here. See how they're dissipating out and they're eroding around right through there and opening up. And so we're going to start to see some sunshine here in the next few hours very consistently. And that'll help us get our temperatures back up probably into the mid 20s. So when you zoom in, you can see that really easy. You can see the dry pocket of air being pushed in, and then the snow is now pushing over towards South Bend instead of LaPorte, New Carlisle, that area. But they're still getting some lake effect snows. Now, they're not getting 10, 15 inches, but they did, I believe, a lot of places got a couple inches to 5 inches, depending on where you were in southern Michigan and northern Indiana during that time frame. Again, here's where we are. Open skies in Illinois, a bit of open skies in southern Indiana and over towards Ohio. Lots of clouds coming off of the lake. When we go in to take a look at the radar, we can see a little patch of snow down towards Indianapolis, and I'm wondering if some of this is enhanced because it's close to the radar, but it is kind of moving. It is at least the clouds and probably flurries and a light snow potential down near Indianapolis. And the lake effect is just starting to fall apart. So even though the clouds are coming down and off, it's probably more flurries than anything else that you're seeing through here. And there's a little bit of heavier amounts of snowfall, Michigan City area. Benton Harbor, Michigan City, back over to Valpo, and then Gary's over here where they're going to build the new stadium for the Chicago Bears. In that general area somewhere there. Hey, maybe they can build it in Lafayette and they'll drive down here. Everybody will come. Maybe that'd be good or bad. I'm not sure. That might be rough. So I'm going to go to a wider picture here of the HER model. Remember the high resolution rapid refresh shows the snow's coming off of the lake right now. We are at 10:30. So this is 10Z. This is 10 local in the morning. Here's 11. Still the same thing. We're starting to see just a little bit of the system coming in from the north to northwest in Wisconsin, coming out of Minnesota. and watch how it rapidly moves across Wisconsin this morning, picking up moisture, picking up the flow is coming in from the southwest in front of this system. So while it's warmer, it's still cold enough to support snow. And as it comes closer and closer, it just gets thicker and thicker, goes across the lake, picks up a little bit more moisture, starts to snow, midnight to 3 in the morning pretty consistently, and then heavy at times, possible when you're getting into the early morning hours. So the commute tomorrow morning will be snowy. Not heavy, heavy snow. We're not talking inches upon inches here. We're talking about an inch from tonight through about Saturday morning for most people, and 2 inches to maybe spotty 2 to 3 inches in different places. So one wave moves through, then it kind of just a couple flurries here or there most of the morning tomorrow morning after the commute. And then somewhere around noon, here comes another little wave that pushes through the local area. 11, 12, spotty showers, even maybe just warm enough to get a light rain shower in there on Friday, which could create some icy conditions Friday night into Saturday. But this is Friday afternoon, and then it's all snow Friday evening into Saturday. And it just shows that streak kind of right over Lafayette. This streak could set up just to our north, just to our south, or right on us. And this, if you're in the streak, you notice it's only 10 to 30 miles wide in most spots where it's really most intense. This is where most of your snowfall will fall. That's why it shows maybe an inch to 2 inches in our local area possible. Outside chance of 3, but most people are going to get an inch or less. But it does kind of stream right over the top of us. And the flurries just linger on into Saturday morning as the system off to the north just kind of swings in a few clouds and kind of gloominess Saturday into Sunday. I think we're going to clear off Saturday night. It'll be very cold Sunday and Monday mornings with no systems in. Maybe these troughs hang on, get a little stronger up here to the north, and they swing something down on Saturday evening into Sunday, but we'll keep an eye on that. Right now, I think it's supposed to open up. Let's zoom in a little closer now. I'm going to change the sector selections, and we're going to zoom in closer so we can see all this. I'll go back to where we were talking about precipitation types. Here we go. Which map? Oh, I'm on the GFS. Let's go to the HER and the close-in version. There's the close-in version of the HER. High resolution rapid refresh is about a 48-hour model. Here we are today. Now let's see what this one says. Again, this is 6 Zulu, so 1 o'clock in the morning. We've got a band of snow just to the north of Lafayette. So anytime in that time frame, if this extends at all down to this portion, you could see the snow starting there at 1 o'clock. Then 2, 3, here it is on top of us, kind of goes through. Also very windy conditions, so that's going to create a problem. The flow comes in from the south, warms us up during the morning hours tomorrow. And it still shows snow, but maybe just see the spotty rain in there. I don't see any ice involved with this at this moment. The atmosphere isn't stacked in the proper order for us to get ice, but wet conditions, a little rain mixed in with the snow there, could create icy conditions because very rapidly it gets cold again. The wind shift to the north by tomorrow evening, and we're back into the cold air from the northwest. Good news from this, when the winds come from the northwest, the lake effect snows will come out towards Michigan instead of Indiana as much. But here we are in a couple of these streaks. Lafayette is right there. That is 01 Zulu. So that's 8 o'clock tomorrow night, shows a streak of snow somewhere close to the Tippecanoe area for the county. And it could vary any direction by 20 to 30, maybe even 50 miles. But there'll be some snows in the area. At the very least, you can expect flurries. And then snow totals look like this. It says 1.9 inches. So it looks like 2, maybe an outside chance of 3 over in Illinois, maybe close to us, is there. But look how narrow this is. This is 5 to 10 miles wide. You're not going to be able to pinpoint this exactly, but it does look like there'll be some potential for some 2-inch snows. Again, most of us will probably get an inch. And it will be blowing around a bit. And then you can see the lake effect coming off the lakes off towards the north there. That's where the snowfall is supposed to be. Let's pop the winds in there real quick, just to show you how gusty and windy it is. We go back. Here we are now. We're not that bad today, 9, 10 knots most of the day, which is 10, 15 miles an hour. And then the gustiness picks in tomorrow morning as that wave of snow comes through, and we get winds in the 25 to 30, gusting to 25 to 30 knots tomorrow morning, along with the snows. So while the snows may not be that heavy, with a 25 to 30 knot wind, your visibility is going to drop, and you're going to struggle to see in the early morning hours heading towards school, heading towards work. And then we'll get into, remember, there was a wave. It kind of died for a little while in the morning after, say, 8 o'clock. It gets better, and then another wave later in the afternoon, but the winds stay strong through the whole period and pick up the snow and blow it around in different places. Just as we thought on Tuesday, the snows yesterday were very light, spotty. Occasionally they looked really heavy, and you thought, oh my gosh, what's happening? But we didn't get much snow, just a little dusting for most everybody, and it kept the roads still decent. I think I was a little worried there'd still be some icy conditions on the east-west roads, but most of them stayed pretty solid yesterday also. So winds stay up 23 to 25 during the day tomorrow, even a pocket of 30 here and there. And then they just stay pretty consistent until it looks like Saturday morning, where they drop back down in the 10 to 15 range for most everybody. So that'll create some cold wind chills still, and definitely some drifting conditions. And with the snowfall and a gusty wind like that, your visibility's drop pretty rough. So if you're out driving, it may be hard to see the guy coming down the street that you're getting ready to turn in or cross over a road. You're crossing a highway somewhere, especially out in the county. That's where you'll see the most of that, where it will be a problem. Um, let's go out real fast. We'll do a quick look at the long range. There's your satellite. Here we go. I'm going to go to the GFS model, which is the very long range. It's only got 14% of the 06Z run in. So let's go back to the 06Z. All right. Showing the sporadic snows the first couple days. Let's see what the long range shows. Just lingering snowfall through Saturday night, and then it clears off. Here's a high pressure system to our south, kind of controlling everything. Eventually, it's going to shift our winds around to the west, southwest, but it'll take a few days. Monday, a little quick moving system goes by to our north, reinforces the cold, stays in here. So the in and out warmth is very quick moving, if at all. And we just stay kind of chilly until the end of next week. And then we get this influx of some warmth. You notice there's rain to our south, and we start to warm up by Thursday, Friday next week. And there's that system that moves through. And this system right here, we have been talking about. It's now on Saturday. I think Monday it showed it on Tuesday of next week. And then Tuesday it backed it up to Thursday. And now here we are on our Thursday, and it's backed it up to like Saturday. That's what you get in the long range systems. You get these yeah, there's a system coming, but it changes constantly, and it's always something a little different. But I'm looking at trends for long ranges, and this will show a warming trend towards the end of next week that kind of carries on with temperatures probably just above normal through Saturday, Sunday, Monday into the January 27th, and heading towards the end of the month. Temperatures are at normal or above normal, where early in the month early in the next week, we're going to be at or below normal most of the time. So chilly to begin with the next 4 to 5 days, and then warming up towards the end of next week and being at or above normal for a while before it actually gets chilly again towards the end of the month on the long range forecast, if you've seen some of those. So that's what the front is there. We'll go back to the MSN page, still showing 20 degrees, and you go down and you look at this type of map, the weather trends map, and it shows the drop, and then it warms back up at the end of next week, then back down towards normal or below. A big warm up at the beginning of February, and then by the middle of February, we're back down to normal or below. But again, these are trends. Look for trends. Yes, a little colder, maybe a little warmer, then a little colder. Where the fronts are and that kind of thing will be very hard to forecast once you get past 2, 3, 4 days. All right. If you've noticed, if you've been paying attention as I've been doing this, the farther out it is, the better chance things are going to change, and the better chance I continue to tell you just keep an eye on it when it gets that far out. Right. Sometimes it nails it, but most of the time it does not. So that's your weather. That's your weather here in Lafayette. That was good 15 minutes right there, 20 minutes almost. You will not get that type of comprehensive look at weather anywhere else in Lafayette other than right here. And in the first hour, I did about 40 minutes, covered all those charts that we just kind of went through and talked about them very extensively. And then I'll come back and I'll do it again in about an hour before we end the show at noon. And we'll talk about what's going on the front there with uh, where the weather's going. The long range, the GFS should probably be all the way in the new one, and we'll take a look at that real quick, and we'll figure out where the systems will be moving and what they will be doing. We've talked some Indiana Hoosier football coming up on Monday night for the national championship. That is exciting. Whether you're a Purdue fan or not, it's an Indiana team, and I root for all the Indiana teams unless they're playing Purdue. Once they're playing Purdue, then I'm rooting for Purdue. That's just the way it is. That's me. And I know a lot of us are like that. Some of you are hardcore. I'm never rooting for Indiana. Well, you know what I'm rooting for? I'm rooting for Purdue to do the same thing Indiana did, which is get really good really quick, which was very unexpected. That's why people still doubt them, even though they've crushed the two teams that they've played already. I don't know if Miami's ready for what's going to happen to them, but we'll see. We'll see. If they're ready, could be a very exciting game. Hopefully, it is an exciting game and it comes out as a Hoosiers win in the end for the national championship. Meanwhile, there's a lot of news going on around the world. We talked a little bit about some of that. We came very close, I believe, yesterday to getting ready to bomb Iran. And we may be, Trump is good about this kind of stuff. Everybody reads into what he says, right? He started talking about Iran and that we might bomb them and do this, that, and the other to get them to move. That's why he did that. So it appears they did come around and say, we're going to stop. We're not going to do this kind of stuff. But he also could have been throwing that out there because he's getting ready to do it anyway. And he's done that in the past. He's told you something while he's still doing it. And what is happening now is, and they should have known this from the beginning if they didn't already know that, he will talk big, he will carry a big stick, and he'll use the big stick if he has to use it, but he would prefer not to use it. And in 90% of the stuff he's done, he's not using the big stick, but he'll talk about it if he has to. And so we're trying to bounce these two back and forth to figure out what is actually going to happen in Iran. Is he talking big and we are going to bomb because they won't stop and we need to get rid of the regime there. And what I say by regime is if you knew Tehran and Iran before these guys took over in 1979, it was like being in the United States. It was that nice. People loved it. They had all kinds of rights. Women had tons of rights. It was a beautiful country. People wanted to go there. Then the Shah took over and the Ayatollah. Things went basically to your authoritarian regime with communism basically running the roost, and they have not let go. And what do? When their power is stretched and people are out there and they're out there kind of going after their own country now, they started killing people in the streets. They've done this in the past and they've killed 50 or 100. They're saying now that upwards of 20,000 people were murdered in the last week on the streets. Now, there are people in our country that will say the one woman is exactly the same as the 20,000 people that were killed in Iran, and will compare our government to Iran's with a straight face and tell you that that's exactly what's happening. But Iran killed 20,000 people in the last week to try to push down the protests that were happening. And it looked like the protests were going to work because some of the cops were coming to their side. Now, the last 24 hours has been very quiet as to information, what's been coming and going consistently. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Was Trump throwing a bluff out there and our media ran with it? Oh, he's not going to do anything, but he is going to do something still because they won't change? Or is he backing off because they are backing off? To me, that kind of gives it to him. But I mean, in this case, and I'm not a warmonger, I want to help the people of Iran. So I'm kind of 6'7" in this thing, so to speak. I kind of feel like I don't want a war to happen. I don't want more people to get killed, but it appears that they're going to keep killing people there. So how do we stop that and give people back their rights that they had just 45 years ago? 1979 is when they took over. So that's 47 years ago already. Wow, it's a long time ago. Um, pretty cool. Oh, here's a story. Here's a good one for you. Remember the guy that heckled Trump yesterday? The suspended Ford worker called him names. Trump, I don't know, said something back to him, maybe flipped him off. I'm not sure how that all worked. Now he's a working class hero, and he has received $60,000 from woke liberals. It says on the story. he, it was his guy's 40 years old. He was suspended. Said he had no regrets after the tiff with Trump at a factory in Michigan on Tuesday. I mean, people can agree to disagree on that kind of stuff. Both of them said something or did something, whatever. But now he's getting money from people for it. $60,000 on his GoFundMe page. Is it man, I got to come up with something then. I just got to go out there and call Trump a name or something somewhere and see if I can get some cash on my GoFundMe page. Would you guys do that? Should I set up a GoFundMe page? Oh, we got to keep Let's Talk Lafayette moving. So let's set up a GoFundMe page and then go yell at Trump and see what happens. Maybe I'll get a bunch of money or I yell at somebody else. Who knows? Seems to be that if you do something wrong and you just throw out a GoFundMe page, people will give you money. And probably goes both ways. So we'll have to see. uh, What other kind of things are happening? Well, the Iran thing is tough, and this started with Maduro being taken, what, a week and a half ago already now? And I told you about all the dominoes that would fall with that when that would happen. It would be countries like Cuba, Iran, China, Russia, all put on notice or would have struggles because Venezuela didn't have the oil and that they knew that the United States was specific and would do what it takes. Hence the reason why when Trump said we're coming in to get Iran if we have to, they started making changes. If that is what happens, got to go by the 24 to 48 hour rule to figure out if that's true or not, right? What that stuff happened yesterday may not actually be happening today. So, well, that's why I keep saying, what if it happened? If it happened, if Iran stopped, if Trump is not throwing out something to make Iran think he's stopping, we'll have to see how it's going. It's a dog and pony show on one side and a dog and pony show on the other, and they're both trying to make each other look happy so that they don't attack, and then nothing happens. But it could be all a feint, one side or the other, right? They may still be killing people, or Trump may still be coming in. It's hard to say. I would not be surprised if in the next 24 hours we actually did something to help the people in Iran. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did nothing either. So there you go. Maybe we put a stop to it. Maybe we didn't. It's hard to say. But remember, those dominoes would fall. Well, obviously, Iran started having problems immediately after that. People had been protesting for a month. It got so bad, they were starting to take over buildings in Tehran. It looked like they were going to try to topple the government. And so the government sent their goons out and started shooting people straight in the street. Didn't matter who they were running, they were coming at them. They caught a bunch of people in an alley in a place. This was seen. They turned off the internet so you couldn't see what was going on. They turned off the phone so they couldn't talk to each other. And then they just ran roughshod over everybody. And so it's hard to tell whether they're winning or if they're losing in the battle. My guess is they shot and killed so many people, everybody scattered and went back home and tried to get away from everything, and they're taking back over. So they told Trump we're not going to kill anybody else anymore because everybody's scattered already. And now we're in that lull. Do they come back out and continue to protest, or do they stay in their homes because they're worried they're going to get shot? And that's exactly what the regime was trying to do. They were trying to scare everybody back into their homes and keep control of them. That's what communist regimes do, regardless of what you think they do. It's not all kumbaya and we all do this together in communists, even though that's what they try to make you think it is. It doesn't work that way. They all end up the same way somehow or another. They end up killing their own people to try to keep their own power, it seems like. All of them end up that way. So, do we want that? We don't want that in the United States, that's for sure. But there are plenty of people in the United States that do want that for the United States. So, it is what it is. But the Iranian people right now, I don't know whether they're going to pop back out or not. It's 11 o'clock in the morning here in Lafayette. So it's roughly 6, so maybe Eastern, Western Iraq, it's about 6. In Eastern Iraq, it's like 8 in the evening, so it's already dark there probably for most people. If I've got my time frame, 8 to 10 hour difference right now for them. So 7 to 9 somewhere in Iran, and we'll see what happens tonight as it goes on, and we'll probably hear more from President Trump this afternoon on it. I would think, right? That's what I would think, at least at this point, that we would hear more about. Um, Headline on the Daily Mail: Trump threatens to unleash the military on Minnesota in insurrection, warning over ICE shooting chaos. So people attacked some of the ICE agents last night and somebody got shot again. That's what happened. The street clashes between federal agents and demonstrators in Minneapolis have surged in recent days following the fatal shooting at Renee Good Renee Good by an ICE officer last week. I, like most Americans, believe that you should be able to protest. That does not mean you can block the road. That does not mean you can attack ICE agents with frozen ice bottles and hitting. There was a video that came out on X that tried to say that this ICE officer had gone above and beyond and had hurt this guy. And they showed the video, and sure enough, it kind of looks like he's doing that. But then you get the whole video, like the 5 or 10 seconds before that, and you find out the guy that he was beating on or hitting on was actually trying to grab his weapon. Come on, people. Don't grab the weapons. What are we doing here? That's creating chaos does not make your opinion better. It makes it worse. When people see this, they go, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Right? You're not protesting. You're creating chaos. Chaos does not get your opinion moved up the scale. Protest on the side of the streets. Let me see what you had to say. I'm good for it. I want to hear it. Maybe I changed my mind. Protest in the streets, block traffic, attack ICE officers, throw bottles at them, do all that stuff. Your opinion just went like this, went down. Why are you? But they seem to think chaos will get them more. You're losing your public. You're losing your public by doing this. They're not going to listen, though. They're going to keep it going because for some reason, someone has told them chaos, rioting, looting, that kind of thing, attacking the police officers is a good thing for them, for their side. Whose side are you on, then? I thought we were all in this together. So that's kind of how it's working on that front. So there was apparently a massive Verizon outage yesterday. There's a likely trigger that cut services for thousands across the U.S. This is just breaking. There's a probe into it right now. And what does the probe say? It says Verizon's massive nationwide network outage on Wednesday may have been caused by a failure in just one East Coast state. Federal and local officials believe a network server in Jersey going down was the likely trigger of the day-long network crash, according to an initial investigation. And many people on social media immediately began to speculate. Isn't that true? Let's speculate immediately. Wait 24 to 48 hours. They speculated that the hours-long network disruption was caused by a cyber attack. Now, the initial investigation into the outage has not found any signs of tampering or hacking by cyber criminals so far. So, true single point failure shouldn't cascade this way in a properly engineered system. And the silence on exact causes only heightens doubts, right? That's for sure. But it sounds like it wasn't set up right. Something happened, it crashed, and that just made it up. But that could be with anything. I mean, when you have a system that big, you don't want one small thing to disrupt everything, but it can if it wasn't done properly, right? The telecommunications giant has yet to provide any details on the mysterious blackout. So put a lot of phones in SOS mode. People couldn't call, they couldn't text, and that was during the day yesterday. So I'm sure there were a lot of upset people about that, right? Especially in those areas. Major cities along the East Coast, including New York and Washington, D.C., appeared to be the hardest hit areas, with customers in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, and Seattle also reporting widespread outages. So it hit a lot of the big cities. And if you were on Verizon, you probably noticed it yesterday. I am not a Verizon guy at the moment, so I did not notice it. That's the luxury of not having Verizon, I guess, right? So, Gotta get a little drink there, guys. The voice is starting to go a little bit. What else do we have happening in the news? There's so much stuff. We talked about Iran. We talked about, remember what I said about the dominoes? And I think I said this on Tuesday. The one that's worrying me right now a little bit, and no one's talking about it, is China. All right. China has been very quiet. They put out one statement early last week after Maduro got captured, and then they have been very quiet compared to everybody else. So what is happening with China? Well, I keep telling you that if they're actually going to bring people across the Taiwan Strait in boats, the best times to do that is April and November for the seas. They could trigger any time. We are moving one of our aircraft carrier groups from the China area and the Southwest Asia area over to the Middle East because of Iran. Does that give an opening? It sure does. When I saw a map somewhere that showed where our aircraft carriers are right now, and for some reason we didn't have something in the Middle East, and we usually do. Now we moved it, I think, possibly back over towards Venezuela to show some power there. I can't remember who got moved which way, where, or when, but there were like two groups in Southwest Asia, one in Venezuela, one on the West Coast, and one on the East Coast. Nothing in the Mediterranean or the Middle East. And that's unusual because usually they are there. So we had moved one from one place to another, and now we're moving it back over, and it's going to take 4 days to a week to get into a place that's close. Maybe that's what Trump's waiting on too with Iran, and Iran is trying to figure this out. Now, Iran